The scariest thing wasn't losing my mind, but watching everyone else lose theirs, right before my eyes. Okay, so, you know how sometimes you talk about old times with family. Like you all remember that one funny thing that happened, or that trip, or that embarrassing moment. That shared history, it's like the glue, right? It makes you feel connected. Well, for me, that glue, it started to dissolve. And I was the only one who noticed it. It started small, really small. Like my sister, Tandy. We were sitting on the stoop, chilling, and I brought up that one time we went to the market in the crazy minibus taxi. You know the one. The driver was going so fast and he almost hit a goat in the road. We screamed so loud we thought we were going to crash. I was laughing just remembering her face, and she just looked at me. Not like she was confused, just blank, like I was telling a story she'd never heard before. Goat? What goat, Nala? She asked. And then she sort of laughed a little too loud and changed the subject. My stomach twisted right then. It wasn't just forgetting a detail. It was like the whole memory just wasn't there for her. But it was so real for me. I could still hear that goat bleeding. I could feel the dust from the road in my throat. I brushed it off. People forget things, right? Especially little details. But then it happened again. With my brother Saifo. We were talking about our grandfather Gogo Themba. And I mentioned how he used to always hum that one specific old song, the one about the river when he was working in the garden. It was his signature tune, everyone knew it. Saifo just frowned. Gogo Themba never hummed, he said. He always whistled, remember? That high-pitched whistle, my heart thumped. Whistle? No, Gogo Themba hummed. Always. I tried to argue to make him remember, but he just kept shaking his head, looking at me like I was making things up. Like I was confused. It was chilling. He was so sure and his memory was so different from mine, then it spread. It wasn't just one person or one memory. It was like a quiet, invisible tide washing over everything. My mother, who remembers everything, who tells us stories about our childhood like they happened yesterday, started forgetting big chunks of our shared past. One evening, we were looking at old photos. There was this picture of us, me and my cousins and my mother at the beach. We were all laughing, soaked, holding up a giant seashell. It was the first time I'd ever seen the ocean. A huge moment for me. I said, "Remember that day, Mama? The waves were so big I was scared to go in." And she looked at the photo, then at me with this distant look in her eyes. "Oh, Nala, you always loved the ocean," she said, her voice soft. "But we never went to the beach together, my child. You went with your father's sister, your Auntie Lorato." My breath caught in my throat. Auntie Lorato? No, absolutely not. Auntie Lorato was out of the country that year. This was our trip. My mother was in the photo. I pointed to her face in the picture. "Mama, that's you. You're right there." She just smiled, a sad, knowing smile like I was a child making up stories. "That does look like me, doesn't it?" "But no, my darling, we never went to the beach. You just remember it differently." That's when the real fear started. A cold, creeping dread. It wasn't just that they were forgetting. It was like they were remembering a different past. A past that didn't include me in the way I remembered it. And they were so calm about it. So sure of their new memories. It was like I was living in a dream and everyone else was living in reality, but their reality was twisted. I started to write things down. Every memory, every conversation. I started taking notes after every interaction just to prove to myself I wasn't crazy. Spoke to Tandy on Tuesday. She remembered buying May's meal. But then on Wednesday she said she bought rice. I have to write it down, I have to, so I can remember. I felt like a detective in my own life, trying to find clues to a reality that was slipping away. I tried to show them evidence. Old messages on my phone. "Remember when you sent me this text about that funny thing Bongi did last month?" And they'd look at the text, their eyes scanning the words, but there would be no recognition. "Oh, I must have been sleepy," Tandy would say, or "That wasn't me, Nala. Someone must have used my phone." It was like they could see the words, but the meaning, the memory attached to them, just wasn't there anymore. It was hollow. I started to withdraw. How do you talk to people when your shared past is disappearing? When you mention something, and they look at you with pity or confusion or even a hint of fear, like you're the one who's not well. I felt like I was screaming, but no sound came out. Everyone was moving on, living their new, slightly altered lives, and I was stuck in a past that only I remembered. The worst part was seeing the emptiness. Their eyes would still be warm when they looked at me, they would still laugh and share food. But when I tried to touch on a specific shared experience, a past joy or sadness, there would be a disconnect, a blankness. It was like they were the same people, but also not. Their souls felt a little bit emptier because the connections, the very fabric of our relationships, were fading. I started having trouble sleeping. Every night I would lie awake, replaying memories in my head, trying to cement them to make them stay. I'd recite old conversations, picture old scenes, smell old smells. I became obsessed with my own mind, trying to protect it from whatever was happening. I stopped leaving the house much. The sounds of the neighborhood, the familiar calls, the smells of cooking, they all felt like they were part of a reality that was now fragile. One afternoon, my mother came into my room. She sat on the bed next to me. She put her hand on my arm. Her eyes were full of a soft sadness. "Nala, my child," she said, "you've been so quiet lately. Are you feeling well? You seem lost." Lost? I wanted to scream. I wasn't lost. Everyone else was. "Mama," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "do you remember when you taught me to braid my hair? You used to sing that song about the swallows." She paused. Her eyes went distant again. "The swallows? Oh, Nala, you always loved to sing. But I remember your grandmother taught you to braid your hair. I was always so busy with work." My grandmother, Gogo Themba's wife, who passed away before I was even 5 years old. She couldn't have taught me. My mother always taught me. My mother sat right there on the floor, singing that swallow song. I could feel the pull of her fingers in my hair, the warmth of her lap. But my mother was looking at me now with that same pity, that same gentle, knowing look that told me I was wrong. A cold dread spread through me, deeper than ever before. It wasn't just isolated memories. It was like the entire landscape of our shared history was being rewritten, piece by piece, and I was the only one who remembered the original map. And now, she was trying to convince me of this new, false map. The despair was crushing. Then one morning I woke up, and I felt strange, like a part of my head was foggy. I reached for my notebook, the one where I wrote down everything. I opened it to a random page. It was a note about a conversation I had with Tandy last week, about a party, a big party we planned together. I stared at the words. "Tandy insisted we invite everyone from the old neighborhood," it said. But as I read it, a wave of confusion washed over me. A party? I didn't remember any party, not last week. Not a big one anyway. My mind felt empty in that space. I tried to recall the details, the colors, the music. Nothing, just a blank. I flipped to another page, a memory about Gogo Themba. He hummed the river song, my own words. But as I read them, a little voice in my head, a new voice, whispered, "No." He whistled. He always whistled. I slammed the book shut. My hands were shaking. It was happening to me. The cracks were starting to form in my own mind. My own memories, the last bastion of truth, were beginning to shift. I looked around my room at the familiar furniture, the photos on the wall. They looked the same. My family was outside. I could hear them talking, laughing. Normal sounds. But the reality they were living in was no longer mine. And soon, maybe, my reality wouldn't even be my own anymore. It was like I was trapped in a nightmare, and the dream was slowly, silently becoming real even for me. The old memories felt like ghosts, clinging to me but losing their grip. And soon I knew I would be just like them. smiling, going through the motions, but the real me, the one who remembered, would be gone. Just like the goat, just like the beach, just like Go-Go them Baz hum. Faded, replaced, forgot. What was your favorite insight? Want more ideas like this? Follow for more.